Our talk today, inshallah, is about covetousness. It's a new word I wasn't even familiar with, which is shuh, which we will explain in detail. It's about covetousness and its relations to the demise of nation. Some might think that covetous is the same as a miser. Some would think that covetous is similar or an alternative word for a miser. But it is actually worse. It is actually more downgrade in human character, in human goodness from being just a miser. Covetous, as the scholar said, is to be a miser and greedy with money. This is one thing. Good deeds and even the goodness of others to others. So when you're talking about covetousness, you're talking about being a miser with money and even good deeds and goodness or seeing good committed between one to another. This is the lowest of a human character. So covetous is to be a miser even with good morals. Covetous is to be a miser with good and goodness, and to ache when you see good happen. Not to be satisfied, to ache when you see goodness happen, even from others. But a miser is only tight, cheapskate, if you will, with money only. So to be a covetous, it covers being a miser, being envious, being jealous, being greedy, being desirous, being egotistic. That's kind of all fall under the umbrella of this one word of covetous. Allah gives many examples of the covetous in the Quran, citing the conduct of the non-believer and the hypocrite. In Surah Al-Ahzab, verse 18 and 19, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, what can be translated, verily Allah already knows those among you who keep back men from fighting in the sake of Allah, in the cause of Allah, and those who say to their comrades, come along to us, while themselves come not to the battle except little. They suppress others from doing the goods. Covetous over you, regarding help and aid in the cause of Allah. Then, when fear comes, they come to you, and you will see them looking to you, their eyes revolving like one over whom hovers death. But when the fear depart, they will strike you with a sharp tongue and covetous of good. All of us, inshallah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us, alerting all of us, that those who are covetous from the believer, among the non-believer and among the hypocrites, are actually covetous of goodness, which means extreme hate and hater to both. That's an extreme case of hate to believers and to goodness in general. Hate for goodness command evilness, and hate for man command abuse and injustice. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, talking about covetousness, the ashuh in Arabic, clarified that it is a prime cause of ruin of social relationship, severing family ties, wickedness, and even killing if necessary. Somebody who does not like to see good or goodness transpire, you can expect anything from him. Nothing out of limit in his evilness or badness. Imam Ahmad, Abu Dawood, and Nisa'i narrated in the Nuzul from Abdullah ibn Amr, may God be pleased with him, that the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said, avoid covetousness, as those who came before you demise because of it. Demise because of it. It commanded them to be a miser, and they became misers. It commanded them to sever family ties, and they did. And it commands them to be wicked, and to command them wickedness, and they became wicked. And in another narration in both Sahih, that the Prophet, peace be upon him, said it commanded them injustice, so they become unjust. Clearly, the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, indicates covetous as the source of destruction, from being a miser to be unjust, to sever family ties, and to be wicked and endorse wickedness. Dear brothers and sisters, with all the moral and ethical decline which covetous cause, with this one character cause, the state of affair of life point to ruin and demise if this destructive condition exists and prevail. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, alerted his ummah to this danger and associated it with the end of time, with the closest of the day of judgment. It is narrated in both Sahih and Nasr of Abi Hurairah that he said, as the end of time come close, good deeds become a novelty. Covetous settle in the heart. All these bad traits settles in the heart. And major trials emerge, and killing becomes rampant. When covetous settle in the heart, people get used to it. They actually accept it as a sound economical habit. Being greedy, being jealous, being tight becomes an economical habit that people accept. And hating good and goodness becomes normal behavior, which increase day by day. Imam al-Hakim narrated on the authority of Anas ibn Malik, may God be pleased with him, that the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said, as time passes, hardship increases, and people will be more covetous, as only the nastiest among people will witness the last hour of earth. This means holding on the Quran, holding on the Sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, become a challenge, because those who endorse and follow become minority. Those who follow the teaching of the Quran and the teaching of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, become the minority. And those who deviate from the straight path of Allah becomes the majority. A state of affair which continue to decline until a condition of the conditions of the happening of the day of judgment materialize. Imam al-Tabarani narrated that Abi Hurairah, may God be pleased with him, said, among the condition of the happening of the day of judgment is for covetousness and wickedness to take over, for shuh and fuhsh to take over. This is a saying of Abi Hurairah, may God be pleased with him, from the teaching of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. Dear brothers and sisters, loving self and egocentric are among man's character, which indicate weak faith and lack of trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If this character took over and took a hold of its owner, it turned from self-love and selfishness to closing any door of goodness for others. From just being selfish to selfish and preserving self-goodness, you become actually envious and closing all doors of goodness to others. A state of complete focus on self, gathering money, not spending it, taking and not giving, reaching an extreme case of illness of being self-centered. The first step of this demeaning illness is to be a miser with money toward others, then to self. Imagine somebody becomes a miser toward the other, not giving the money, but becomes a miser toward his own self, not spending money, not enjoying life, not spending money on food and drinks or clothes. An illness which progress to hate good or seeing goodness, even if it was performed by someone else. A state of severe illness that you cannot even see good before you. So, close the door. An advice from the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and the Quran that is very clear. Close the door for covetousness by closing the doors of being a miser at the first sight or sign of it, alerting your soul and conscience by taking the example and by taking refuge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to protect you from such an evil character. Take an example of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, the best man who walked the earth, as it was narrated in both Sahih on the authority of Anas ibn Malik, may God be pleased with him, that he said that the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, used to supplicate to Allah, used to take refuge in Allah, used to ask Allah's shelter, saying, "Oh Allah, I seek your refuge from laziness. I seek your refuge from laziness. I seek your refuge from cowardice. I seek your refuge from old age, and I seek your refuge from being a miser." Imam al-Nawawi, may God be pleased with him, said, the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, supplicating to take refuge from Allah from cowardice and being a miser. He asked Allah's help not to be a coward and not to be a miser, because of what these two character leads to, of shortcoming in fulfilling what Allah ordained, satisfying obligation, fighting wickedness, or to stand with the truth against corruption and innovation in faith. With strong and brave soul, worship will be fulfilled, injustice will be confronted, and innovation of faith will be exposed. You will not be seeing evil and standing back. You will not be seeing innovation and not talking about it. With a strong soul, you will have all that to confront such bad time that we passing by. And with generous soul, not tainted by any character of being a miser, financial obligation will be fulfilled. Spending for the sake of Allah will be effortless. When you seek to spend for the sake of Allah, money will come effortless. Best of conduct will be the rule. And being greedy for what in the hand of others will not exist. Other scholars said, Imam al-Nawawi continue saying, other scholars said that the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, asked Allah's protection and help in these two issues, from being a miser or being a coward, so he can attain a perfection in all his conduct, guidance, and teaching for the ummah, teaching his ummah. He needs the courage, he needs the generosity to be in state of perfection to provide it for all of us. Let us all follow his guidance and lead, peace be upon him, responding positively to those who invite us to good and goodness and the best of conduct. Let us all turn a deaf ear to those who obstruct from good and goodness and the best of conduct among the misers, and those who cross over to be among the covetous, those who are jealous, those who are greedy, those who are envious, those who are desirous for what in the hand of others, and those who are egotistic, as they only want and hope for you to be like them. So avoid them, stay away from them. May Allah make us among those who listen, comprehend, and apply. Just a small connection.